Okay, what I've done here is I've downloaded all the formula that the foundation and higher tier need to know together. There is another sheet for higher, which doesn't have very many formula on, thank goodness, but we're not concerned with that today. And you'll notice that you have covered, some of this you started to cover at junior school, some of it you've done in year 7, year 8, and some of it, like the volume of a cylinder, in year 9. And the Pythagoras and the trig is year 9. Some of it, like compound interest, we don't really bother with until you reach year 10. The probability we started to do, but we haven't quite reached there yet. And this is something that again has been done and touched upon, but it's more likely to be done in GCSE science. So let's have a think about what we were particularly interested in, what we've been studying. Well, we've been studying volume. But to study volume, we've needed to revise area. You are expected to know these. If you do not know these, you immediately cannot do this. You cannot find the volume of a prism if you don't know how to find the area of the end. You can get away with the volume of a cuboid because even though it's a prism, you tend to remember length times width times height. So if you see here, I've drawn a hexagonal prism. A hexagonal prism is basically made up of 2 trapeziums. So the face at the end is 2 trapeziums. If you can calculate the area of the trapezium, you just double it, multiply by the length, and you've got the volume of the hexagonal prism. So all you need to know is that formula there and that formula there, and immediately you can make up something more complex. We can give this a correct formula if you like. We can carefully work out what its formula is, but you do not need to know it. You only need to know how to find the volume of a prism and how to find the area of a trapezium, and those facts you must know. So it's a learning exercise. It's a learning exercise, but it's also the skill it's also asking you to do is the skill of algebraic substitution. So you are expected to be able to substitute numbers into formula. So that if you're told you have a cylinder and its length is 2 centimetres, its radius is 2 centimetres, because I'm really not being very clever here. What is its volume? Well, you know that the area of the end is going to be my radius, which is 2 squared times pi, because I'm going to use my pi r squared, which gives me 4 pi. I'm going to keep it exact, because turning it into a number at this stage isn't necessarily a good idea. And then I know my volume. I need to use this. It's the length times the area of the cross section. So it's 4 pi times my length. So my volume is 8 pi, and that is exact. And I would expect that answer to be around about, if it's centimetres, about 24 centimetres cubed. And we can check that by going 8 times shift pi, and we get 25.1 centimetres cubed. So I'm not far off, because basically I used pi as 3. So that is a rounded, that's to 3 sig fig. So think of the other skills that are going on. The other skills is, can you substitute into a formula? Can you understand when to use exact and when to use the decimal form? Can you round? So again, that's being asked. What happens if you get this? The volume of a cylinder is 24 centimetres cubed. Its radius is 2 centimetres. How long is the cylinder? So this question is asking you to think about, can we undo the work here? Can we go backwards? Can we rearrange equations? Can we solve equations? Can we rearrange a formula to make something the subject? So the first thing is I'm going to create the volume of the cylinder. So the volume of this cylinder is the area of the cross section times my length. So that's my volume. And if I substitute them in, I get 24. The area of the cross section is pi r squared, so that's pi times 2 squared times my length. Now I need to be able to rearrange this so that the length is the subject of the formula. And you can carefully work that out as 4 if you want, or you can leave it like that. If we divide both sides by pi times 2 squared, on this side, if we divide it by that number, this will effectively become 1 and the length will be left. So our length is 24 divided by pi times 2 squared, which is 24 divided by 4 pi. 4 goes into that 6, that's 6 divided by pi. Our length is, and you'll notice I've done quite a lot of that in my head before I've reached for my calculator, because the less I have to enter into my calculator, the less likely I am to make a mistake I have found in the past. And that gives me my length as 1.91 to 3 sig fig. So there are a number of skills that we expect you to be able to do. Officially, I've taught you about the volume of prisms, but unofficially, I have reminded you of the area of a variety of shapes. I have also unofficially expected you to understand how to substitute into an equation, and I have expected you to be able to unpick a formula, to rearrange, to solve an equation. There is a lot going on there.